host, Liz Lee, otherwise known as Cellomoji, and I'm here to talk about tips and tools to help you on your cello journey. Hello and welcome to episode number 18 of Cellomoji Chats. And today is part 2 of an interview that I had with Alex Caplis-Tuttle. We are talking about music mind games, which is a fantastic way of teaching your students all about music theory and oral skills by using a series of really, really fun games. So in the first episode, we talked about what music mind games is and actually did a couple games there. And in this one, we are exploring a little bit more about music mind games and then getting to know a little bit more about teacher Alex themselves. Plus, it's just another reminder that teacher Alex is holding a workshop in February in Texas, Houston, Texas, on February 16th. From 7 to 9 p.m. And if you are a music teacher or you know a music teacher in the Texas area nearby Houston, please pass the word on. And I highly recommend that everyone try to find out more about music mind games. Teacher Alex also talks about how you can actually learn about music mind games online with the Music Mind Games website. I think you pay a monthly fee and then you have access to learning all about the games and maybe perhaps bringing those games into your own teaching studio or within your students' lives. So I hope that you enjoy this part 2 of Music Mind Games interview with my friend Alex. Daily Dough.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we should sing Daily Dough.
Oh, okay. I'm rusty on Daily Dough.
That's okay.
So what we're going to do right now is called the Daily Dough. This is introduced to me, now it's been, 2 years ago or so? And I will say I'm a little rusty on the hand cymbals, but that's okay.
You can look at me.
Yeah. So this is a really great way to train multiple things. Oral skills, hand signs, solfege. No, it's a great way to start any class. It's definitely something that we do with all of the beginner classes that we've done, like beginner cello, violin, bass. Like everybody sings this. When we first meet the kids in summer camp, we make this is like the first thing that we teach them how to do. And so teacher Alex, take it away. So mi, so mi, so la, so mi, do mi, so mi, do re mi fa, so la, ti la, so fa, mi re do. Okay, well, that's
a taste.
That's a taste of Daily Dough. So what's really cool about Daily Dough is...
So what's really cool about Daily Dough is that it's in fixed dough. It always starts on a G all the time. And what that does is help build relative pitch.
Oh, yeah.
So like I can pull a G out pretty regularly nowadays.
Cool.
I didn't want to do it.
Don't judge me on my singing today.
Right? No, neither of us are professional singers, but we can make the pitches, and that's all that matters.
Yes, this is very true.
Yes, and so singing is so important for your internal intonation, I feel like.
Yeah, I often tell a lot of my students, if you can actually imagine the pitch that you're shifting to or what it should sound like, that they're probably more likely to actually hit the shift in tune or hit the pitch in tune. So this is totally like what I think as well and what I tell a lot of my students.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great for that like oral visualization.
Yeah, definitely.
In your mind.
Now, keep in mind there's more to the Daily Dough, but that was just a taste. If you want to see a true Daily Dough, you can leave in the comments. Let us know, and we'll do a full Daily Dough. Don't judge me on my hand symbols. It's been a while since I've done Daily Dough.
It's been a minute, but that's okay.
All right, let's move on. We just went over a whole bunch of music mind game games and Daily Dough. And why don't you just go over one more time what are the benefits of using music mind games to teach things like rhythm and pitch?
The big question is why games, right? Which we've covered a little bit, but games hold students' attention. They make the learning process so much smoother. Like, if you think about it, when you see, like, the documentaries of, like, the animals in the wild, they're playing to learn these necessary skills to survive. Yeah. And that's what it is when you're playing music mind games. You're playing to learn the necessary skills to survive as a musician.
I think gamifying things, too, just makes it more fun in the learning process, because it doesn't actually feel like you're like learning. You're actually just having a game and learning in the process.
Yeah. Students learn to work cooperatively, which is a big thing. You're not in music mind games the majority of the time, if not all the time. We're not competing against each other. We're just playing the game.
Yeah, we don't need to foster a competition and make music a toxic environment, because there's definitely plenty of that. Even fostered by certain teachers,
yes,
for sure. And that is not our goal. We want it to be group effort and group fun. So,
yeah. And a big thing about playing games is teachers can evaluate student knowledge without testing. And again, there's a huge difference between a game and a test, but we want to be always analyzing, hey, this is what our students know. This is maybe what they could be a little better at. How do we observe that without testing? Well, you play the game.
Yeah. All right. Do you find that it can be confusing for kids, or that it conflicts with other private teachers? Because obviously, like, music mind games is a teaching process in itself. But what if, say, you had a student who went to a different private teacher who didn't know about music mind games? Like, have you found conflict with that at all?
A little, maybe. It's never about the kid being like a bad kid, right?
No, never about that.
And it's not even about the previous teacher or the current teacher being like, if they just didn't do music theory.
Sure.
And I understand not having time to do that, because it's a 30-minute lesson. What are you going to do?
Right.
Especially if you don't have group class. So I get that. What I've noticed with my students is that the older they are, the more resistant they can be to doing things like blue Jello.
Okay, like they're too cool to do blue Jello?
Yes. All my students actually are pretty good sports, even if I didn't, like, raise them as my own. Okay. Even if I've inherited them, they're really good sports. They're wonderful kids, and they'll just do it because I asked.
Yeah.
So, and then with other teachers' students, I find that if they're surrounded by people who are willing to do it, they'll be willing to try.
Okay. I mean, group mentality, right? You don't want to be the one that doesn't sticks out in a bad way. Yeah. Definitely. I find that I guess the only thing is, say if they're learning rhythms and pitches in one way, but say they're going to the school and they're learning it in a different way. I think that sometimes there can be a little bit of that divide, but that's our role as teachers, is to make sure that, like, they are not separate things. It's not all of a sudden like a pitch A is like a different pitch in a different setting. So, I mean, even though music mind games is one way of teaching the music theory, it is important to make sure, like, the kids understand, like, this is not like unique. We're not teaching music to mean different things in different settings. And that's where we bridge that divide, whether this teacher is trained in music mind games or not, to make sure that's all clear for them and they're not confused.
Yeah, I think that where some of the confusion, just for example, can come from is when you come from a teacher who's teaching 1, 2, and 3, 4, and that kind of, that's how I grew up learning it.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any problem learning that method. Like, learn it side by side with music mind games if you want. Like, it's important to know how to name the beats and tell what beat you're on and things like that. But do I think that it's detrimental for them to learn both? No. Like, it can never be like detrimental to learn the same thing multiple different ways, like how to approach it.
I mean, that's very true for even if we're talking about Suzuki specific and we're talking about twinkle rhythms. The first rhythm that everybody learns is 4 16th notes and 2 8th notes. And I've heard it many different ways of how people teach that. It could be like Mississippi Stop Stop. It could be, Wish I Had a Bunny, or it could be, any number of combinations of words and sayings, but the kids all still get it. Like, it's supposed to sound like this, and they play it correctly based off of how we demonstrate it and how we bridge that gap. So I definitely even had a little bit of confusion with a couple students when it was the 1 8th note, 2 16th, and I teach it as run pony, but then like in the school they taught it as grasshopper. I was like, what's grasshopper?
Yeah. Who's she? We don't know her.
And it was like, wait, grasshopper, the way you guys are saying it makes it sound like a triplet. So triplets I thought were like strawberry, blueberries, or pineapple. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, there's definitely a number of different ways to say certain things. But again, as long as we're clarifying to our students that they all mean the same thing, we just may use different words, I think that will help bridge that gap, which will be important. Okay, next question. How can anyone find out more about music mind games and how to get trained to teach it?
Okay, and that's such a good question because everyone should get trained to teach music mind games, I think. So there is a music mind games website. It's just musicmindgames.com, so super easy to remember and get into. And
we'll link it in the notes.
Oh yeah, we'll link it in the notes, absolutely. And so you go to the Music Mind Games website and you click on, I think it's workshops, and it'll show you, oh, this is coming up in your area. So like, for example, I'm doing a 2-hour workshop in Houston in February.
Don't miss it. If you live in Texas and you are near Houston, you should definitely go check out this workshop that's happening on February 16th.
Yes.
From 7 to 9 in Houston. Alex will be
leading it.
And it's a really, I think it would be really well worth anyone's 2 hours of their day to like learn this really fun way of, yet another fun way of teaching rhythms and notes. I think that's really great. And I'm sure while there isn't many teachers, I would say, right, in the US proper, I think there's some in.
So there's more teacher presenters than teacher trainers. Mm-hmm. I think the only 2 teacher trainers in the US are Michiko and Carrie Lappins, mm-hmm.
Who
we've hosted before to come teach Music Mind Games here in Austin.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's teacher presenters who can do like a 1 to 2 day workshop.
Oh, okay. So you can definitely check out the website for that, to see what other presentations there are in the US. I highly recommend, if you are a teacher, that you should definitely check out one of these workshops. And then, you can ask, say you're a student and you're listening to this or watching this video, you can ask your teacher, hey, have you ever heard of Music Mind Games? It might be a fun thing to learn about, or just even asking the question will hopefully spur the curiosity of the teacher to look into it. Because, the minute I heard about it, I thought it was so fascinating to hear of yet another way of teaching it. And it just seemed so fun. Like, even as a teacher watching teacher Alex present this to our classes, it was just super fun to watch them like teach all the kids, and they were getting all excited about it. And you know you're onto something when the kids get really excited about doing it. Oftentimes, you know, when it's just one-on-one, you know, half the time they're just like, they just have to do it. But when you're in a class and you're seeing all the kids get super excited about it, then you know it's like something good.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, here's a question I think is really interesting. Of course, you know, the whole point of this is to talk about music mind games, but if they don't teach music mind games, what is one thing you can encourage teachers to teach students and to not gloss over?
I think that as teachers, we need to move so much more incrementally than we do. Like, I'm speaking about myself, right? Like, I need to know all the little baby steps that get you from A to B, like A1, A2, A3, okay? And I think that's why we go to school. That's why we go to trainings. That's why we do things like music mind games, because there's all these little incremental steps that live between point A and point B. And I think if we teach like that, what we'll teach our students actually is how to trust themselves. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know about you, but I didn't grow up necessarily trusting myself musically, like trusting my own opinion and my own instincts, because I didn't have all of the information.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think the more information, the more incrementally you can give it to your students, the more of a foundation they'll have to trust themselves.
Sure. And I think you're also touching upon the fact that repetition's okay. Like, to the point where sometimes they might be like, oh, we're doing this again. But I feel like the more we can repeat things for our students, the more apt that they're just going to absorb the information, and they're just going to internalize this. Like, I can't tell you, like, the word Jello and the word blue, even though, you know, I've only done it in camps and whatnot. It's like I associate that with rhythms that I see on the page sometimes too. So I think it's really important to not shy away from that. Like you said, to teach incrementally, but make sure that they really understand that before like adding more and more until it's just completely overwhelming.
Well, and that's another reason we use games, because who doesn't love to repeat a game?
Yeah.
Think about your favorite game. Like, my favorite game from childhood was Candyland.
Oh, okay.
Do you know how many times I played Candyland? I never got sick of it. And it's the same thing for these games. Like, the students can play the games that we just played for y'all over and over and over and never get sick of them. And it just builds mastery.
Sure. Yeah, that's great. Fantastic. All right, Alex.
Okay.
Right now, we are going to dive into a fun game for me. Well, hopefully it's fun for you too. This is I just want them to know a little bit more about you, like I know you. So, this is really easy lightning round.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. First up, soda or coffee?
Soda.
What kind of soda?
Diet Coke.
Diet Coke all the way, huh? All right. Salty or sweet?
Salty sweet.
Oh, salty. Well, if you had to pick one.
Oh, no. Salty.
Okay.
I'd pick salty.
Morning person or night person?
Morning person.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't see. You learn something new every day. Great. What is your favorite place to be? Do you have a favorite place to be?
Jack Allen's.
Well, that's favorite restaurant. That's for sure.
I love my Jack Allen's.
Oh, okay. Do you have a favorite composer?
I do.
Oh, who's your favorite composer?
His name's Dohnani.
Oh, no way, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
What do you have a favorite composition of his?
Yeah, the Viralia Hungarica.
Oh gosh.
I'm probably butchering that word.
What kind of piece is it?
It's like a bunch of different little pieces that are all
for violin and piano?
It was edited for violin and piano. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
But I think originally it was an orchestral work.
Okay. Do you think that would be your favorite piece for your instrument?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. By the way, teacher Alex plays violin and viola, so you know.
I play one of them better than I play the other.
But, you know, more props to know more than one instrument. Okay, next question. a book that you think everyone should read. It could be fiction or nonfiction.
A book I think everyone should read. I think everyone should read The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula Le Guin.
Oh.
Yeah. It has a lot of really interesting like gender stuff.
Oh, cool. All right. Best inspirational role model. Do you have one?
You, Liz.
Oh, thank you.
Let me think about that. My best inspirational role model. Well, I played a masterclass for Hillary Hahn, which you put me up to.
Yes,
which was incredible.
It was amazing.
It was incredible. I'm so glad that you put me up to that. And she was so kind and so warm and wonderful, and I think she would be the person.
That's awesome. I was so proud that you just like took a leap of faith and did it, and
it was a leap. It was a clip.
That was amazing. It was like the highlight of the year for sure. Yes. When I heard that you got that. Okay, best piece of advice to any aspiring musicians out there.
Know your worth. Know your worth and know how you want to be treated.
Yeah.
Definitely know what you're willing to put up with and what you're not.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Yeah, definitely. And just know your value. Know that you're worthy of respect and dignity.
Yeah. I mean, that's a basic human being expectation too.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, for sure. Okay, is there one thing that you have to do every day besides practicing? Because we're all so good about practicing every day.
Is there one thing I have to do besides practicing every day? I'm thinking I definitely have to I have to like not journal, but I have to like mood track.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I track that every day.
Good.
And I write down, it's not really journaling because I just kind of write down real quick what happened in the day, but then I can see like the pattern of
exciting.
Like, this went really well. So I did those things. So I'm going to do those things again.
Like, I mean, hey, that's a big thing also for musicians because most of the time our emotions are a roller coaster ride, so it's good to know what makes us happy and what makes us not happy. So
especially when you're so busy, it's like hard to notice.
Yeah, definitely. Stuff. Well, thank you so much, Alex, for joining me today on my podcast / YouTube channel / all the things. I really appreciate it. Why don't you tell everybody one more time how they can find out more about Music Mind Games, and if they have any questions, how they might be able to contact you.
Okay, go to the Music Mind Games website. Look at everything on there. You can subscribe for, it's like $10 a month. A little less than $10 a month. You can subscribe. There's videos of all the games. There's descriptions of all the games. You could basically, teach yourself.
This is not like an affiliate or anything. This is just Alex promoting Music Mind Games.
Like, there is no kickback on this. Just go do it. Yeah. And if you want to reach out to me specifically, we can put my email.
Okay. Yeah, we'll link it up.
Yeah, we can link it up.
And don't forget, if you are in the Texas area near Houston, February 16th, 7 to 9 p.m., go definitely attend this seminar. I guess we can call it a seminar.
It's like a little workshop.
Yeah, a little workshop where you can get fully immersed in Music Mind Games. I think it would be fantastic use of your time, and you will definitely find really big benefits for yourself as well as your students. Or if you are just a student, you're just going to feel so much more secure if you're exposed to Music Mind Games as well. Thanks again, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.
Woo, bye.
So there was part 2 of my interview with Alex, all about Music Mind Games. And if you haven't already done so, I highly recommend that you go ahead and listen to part 1 of this interview in a previous episode and find out more about Music Mind Games and a couple of the games that are in this training course. Thanks again to my friend Alex for coming on this podcast and talking all about music mind games. And if you have any questions for teacher Alex, I left their email contact in the show notes, so you can be sure to contact them directly and ask them all the questions that you have about Music Mind Games. You can also check out Music Mind Games on the website, which I'll also leave a link in the show notes. Thanks so much for supporting this podcast by listening to it. If you think that this episode would be interesting to others, be sure to share it. 5-star reviews are always appreciated, as well as subscriptions, because they just help bring this podcast to other listeners just like you. You may have heard some references to watching this podcast, and this interview will actually also go up on my YouTube channel, which you can just search on YouTube for Chillamoji, and my channel should pop up. And it's another great way of absorbing this information, so you can actually see all the materials we're talking about and all the motions that we're doing, and hopefully give you a better sense of what Music Mind Games is all about. If you would like to support this podcast, as well as help me bring on other interviews, please feel free to click the link in the show notes and buy me a coffee. Buying me a coffee helps support this podcast, as well as help bring on guest speakers just like Alex. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, cello on.